What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the voice acting from Dynasty Warriors Origins and all my initial issues that I had when I first picked up the game and was given a code back in November. After playing for so long now and 100%ing the game, all the voices have really been acclimated to. I mean, I don't really have a problem with anyone anymore, but I would say when I first heard some of the voices and even some now, I mean, not saying that they're bad, but maybe the fit for the character is a little off. We're going to go through all the ones that I want to talk about. On the bottom you'll see like the names of the characters we're going to talk about. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. I no longer hear a voice and I go, wait a minute, wait, what was that? I originally was having to take several double takes when I heard some of these voices. So we're going to talk about the ones that I had initial problems with, or maybe they just don't necessarily fit the best right now either. And we'll go from there. So instead of my normal countdown or ranking style, I'm just going to take a section of the video and talk about each one. So with that being said, let's dive in. And before we do, we appreciate you guys dropping a like or a sub on the video to help out the channel. And let's get into it. So Zhang Liao and Xu Shu are up first. Both characters that took some time for me to get used to. But in my opinion, for these two, the reason I put them together is that these two characters should be switched. Zhang Liao goes back to his semi-squeaky Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends sound.
That Yuan Shao. What a coward to be unable to face us on his own.
I fought on battlefield after battlefield, hoping I might die a warrior's death at his side.
And Xu Shu's voice travels deeper than the ocean.
But now I'm worried they'll be angry at me for doing so.
I mean, he hit puberty in half. So I think just because of the way the characters are, the one that we had for Zhang Liao back in the day.
In the time since I joined this army, I have crossed paths with many fine warriors, including yourself.
And for Xu Shu,
I wish I could be like you, you know?
It fit them, and they kind of switched them on this game. And not saying that it didn't necessarily fit them eventually, but when I first heard it, especially Zhang Liao, I was like, oh, they went the squeaky route again. And it would have 100% been better to have these two voices switch. It would have fit Zhang Liao, the veteran, the general, the commander, the badass warrior, versus Xu Shu having a bit of a higher pitch, the insecurities, because the characters' personalities, for the most part, don't really change. So having a voice that fits them would have just made the character a little bit more cohesive. But still, it's fine. It works for them. I think if those two switched, they would have been absolutely great. So we have the Eye Patch Man and the Grandiose General. First off, both of the characters have great personalities, and they hit the place where they need to be for the game. Their voices, however, it took some time to get used to. At least for me personally, the deepness of both Yuan Shao and Xiahou was a little off. It was a little off for me.
We're done here. Show me what you're made of in the coming battle.
But could you at least show a modicum of respect for once?
You know, even though we were used to a legendary deep voice with Kirk Thornton,
not to mention his tricks killed Dian Wei.
His new voice, it just threw me for a loop for how really deep it is. Xiahou himself also seems to be a little bit more serious than usual. He came across as somebody who had like no give on really anything. And although I say that it's like a good part of his personality, it might give him the unlikable trait for him that, you know, newer fans who aren't familiar with him, like how he is in previous games, can turn them off to Xiahou and maybe in, Wei in general. And then similarly with Yuan Shao, his voice is so deep, it was quite jarring for me to get used to. Just hit the ear a little differently for me. It definitely doesn't feel the same as the Dynasty Warriors 5 Yuan Shao.
Our enemy is an old friend. We must display to him our full respect.
But it's like in that range. And I'm not saying that either of these choices were bad. It was just a bit of an adjustment for me to get used to both of them. The only thing that threw me off is that he sounded like Ling Tong.
We have avenged our loss at Hefei and lived up to our part of the alliance.
We shall withdraw as well.
I mean, that took a playthrough and a half for me to get used to. I mean, it definitely fits him well, but that voice has already been assigned, at least for me, in our Dynasty Warriors brains, to Ling Tong. So when I first heard him, I was thrown for a loop. I was like, wait, isn't that Ling Tong's voice? Obviously, having only played Origins recently and just getting a bunch of content out for you guys, Changpu and that voice has now been associated pretty heavily. But when I go back and pick up some Dynasty Warriors 6 Ling Tong or whatever game Ling Tong is in that has that voice, it's going to be quite this like disconnect in a way. The voice acting is great. I understand that Ling Tong is much younger in Origins, but I really wouldn't mind the same voice for him as before. I mean, there's plenty of young people with deep voices, so I don't know why they couldn't do that. And since we're already on it, I'm just going to throw Ling Tong in here. His voice was a slight curve to get used to as well. The super squeaky to like elicit the inexperienced, naive, almost like brat type. I don't know if that was the best choice for him.
There you are. I've been waiting.
I would have liked him to be more confident or boastful rather than having a scene of him arguing with his dad like, I can stay up past 9 o'clock now, Dad. I'm not a little kid anymore.
You don't need to tell me these things, Father. I'm not a child anymore.
Kind of thing for me was, it was for me. I just don't think that we need to portray him in that way. So yeah, Cheng Pu has some time to get used to. Ling Tong, threw him in there as well because I was like, that's a little weird, but it happens. Everybody got a buddy in this one, I guess. Alright, both great characters, and they played good roles, but their voices have the same problem. Rubber ducky sounding mother flippers. Again, they grew on me. It just wasn't the best. I mean, Guo Jia seems off entirely. Very strange moments with how he sounds.
Sorry I'm late. I may have had a little too much to drink last night.
He has great moments in the story. Like, really good moments. Like, this is one of my favorite moments from him.
Such is the life led by Guo Jia.
But the voice is really squeaky, and after having the peak voice that he had in Dynasty Warriors 8...
No matter how strong someone may be, if they cannot be trusted, they cannot be taken as allies.
It just seemed a little bit too, I don't know, like pushy, like it was overdone in a way. I think Guo Jia should have had a calm kind of energy about him with his voice, but what I'm getting for him is that squeaky, I know what's best kind of thing versus being more grounded and... because Guo Jia is not really that kind of person. Like, if it was Zhang Hui, who's not in the game, right? But if he was in the game and he sounded like Guo Jia, okay, that makes perfect sense. Or even Zhuge Dan, right? Because Zhuge Dan had a very deep voice in the last game, and it sounded fine for him. But even if they went someone like it, because that's his personality fits that. When I look at the characters in terms of cohesion, it's like a little weird to see some of the characters with their choices. Xu Huang is similar, a bit of a squeaker and a bit rough at times.
I must ask your forgiveness for the last time we met, when I simply stole your sage advice and fled.
Similar to Zhang Liao, I just eventually got used to it, but it is squeaky at times. Nothing wrong with it, but it just had moments of like, Alright, so we got these three. Instead of making like small sections, I'm just going to put them all together. So first off, we've got the narrator from Dynasty Warriors 6, also known as Xun You.
I presume that you belong to this household. Where might Lord Wan Yun be?
The voice isn't bad, it's not bad at all, but it threw me off because he sounded dead on. Like, I could have sworn that was the narrator from Dynasty Warriors 6.
At the end of the 2nd century, the later Han Dynasty was approaching its end.
My name is Xun You. I have an appointment with him.
Which again, isn't bad, but it just threw me off. He went from a higher-pitched, decent voice
Master Guo Jia
to a post-puberty, ball-dropping deep kind of voice. I'm like, damn! When I first, because I think you meet him, chapter 2, he wants to talk to Wang Yun, and when he opened his mouth, I was like, what the heck? It definitely made me do a couple double takes. Next up, we got Dian Wei, who is the king of twang in this game. I mean, come on, I can't be the only one who hears that, right?
That young lad carrying herbs around the camp, is he with you?
He has the most noticeable change to his voice versus everyone else. He's weirdly got this like southern accent twang to his voice, and it is just a little strange. It's probably the only voice that really doesn't fit a character out of the whole game in terms of it just doesn't fit him. Like, you look at Dian Wei and the way he speaks, and it doesn't fit. Every other character, their voices might be a little off, but I understand it. It goes with their model. Dian Wei really has that twang, and it's just a tad off-putting for me. And then finally we have the soft-spoken resin voice whisperer himself, Zhou Tai. And I think they were going with a soft-spoken manly man style with him that just came off a little weird at times.
A burden? I never thought. But I believe that is a fine attitude.
Out of all the characters, Zhou Tai probably has the least amount of content, so it's not as glaringly obvious, but when he does speak, it does make me tilt my head a bit like, wait, what? Why does he sound like that? Again, Dynasty Warriors 8 was a great voice for him, and definitely the best, and I think they were trying to go for something similar to that.
The enemy will be cut down.
Maybe a bit of an over-exaggeration, similar to when they, pronounce Lu Bu. Anyway, overall, for the voice acting, those are all the, things that I wrote down that when I first played the game, or I first heard them speak, that's what caught my ear. So it's not that any of the voice acting is necessarily bad, it's just that the choices for the characters in their voices is where this video comes from. So overall, the voice acting was good. It's a good place to start for a majority of the cast, and I hope through good success they continue to nurture the voice acting and push the characters where they need to be, as they were in the previous games. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for the video, guys. Just a small little discussion video about Origins and the voice acting. What do you guys think about it? I know there's some people that genuinely hate it, but it's just nowhere near as bad as Dynasty Warriors 9. There's just no way. So let me know what you guys think about it down below. You guys have any questions, concerns, or anything about Dynasty Warriors Origins, let me know and I will answer it. I've done pretty much everything in the game, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.